That was brutal. That was brutal.
All right. Well, thank you all for being here tonight. We're going to go ahead and get started in just a moment. Before we do, I would invite you to stand with us as we have Pastor Davis come and give us our invocation, and please remain standing for the flag salute. Pastor?
Pray with me. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the day. Thank you for the city of Kelso. Thank you for these fine men who are serving and leading in a variety of ways. We pray your blessing on them. Give them a mind to see things as you see them. Just have clarity today. Pray for the chief and others giving reports. Bless them. Give them just a good, strong voice and good report, Father, in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, with that, I've got 6 o'clock. We'll go ahead and open the meeting. It looks like we're missing Mr. Schimmel, Mr. McDaniel for now at least. So if you make that note, we'll waive the roll call. Council, in your packet were minutes from our January 20th meeting. How would you like to handle those?
Move to approve.
It's moved and seconded to approve the minutes from January 20. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion to approve the minutes, please say aye. Aye. And those opposed? I hear none. The ayes have it. Motion passes. Minutes are approved. All right. We have a presentation from our police department. Welcome to the podium.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. You know, I look forward to this every year. I tell you constantly whenever I get the chance that we have good people working at Kelso. I think that's evident by our local area and seeing the amount of people that other departments are now trying to hire and the people that are leaving those departments, not fully done with their careers yet, but moving on to other places. And we just don't have that here at Kelso. You know, the main thing I want you to, you all know me, but the main thing from this slide is I've been here for 28 years as a Kelso police officer full-time. I did another 2 years as a reserve officer here in the city of Kelso. So what I'm going to talk about tonight comes from all those years of service. You know, it's true, we are Kelso. Anybody that's been to the gymnasium will see this sign hanging there. We are a team. We Team Kelso. We believe in that with our other city departments and also with everything that our officers do on duty and off duty. You'll see my officers a lot of times involved in Kelso sports out there, either at basketball, soccer, all those types of things. So they're ingrained in the community. You already know that we currently have 24 commissioned officers. Of those, 2 are at the Drug Task Force. One of those positions is grant funded. We have 1 school resource officer, and he's contracted with the school district. We have 2 divisions, patrol and detectives unit. Those people are made up from above. And then, of course, we have our records, evidence, and we'll talk about them a little bit. I show this slide just to let you know that since 2009, we lost, as some of you know, the captain's position and 3 other officers' positions. We've not recovered any of those to date. The other thing that we talked about last time when we talked about budgeting was at that point I had at that time 5 guys that were eligible for retirement. We currently have 6 now, and before the end of the year we'll move to 7. I know that I have 5 of my guys going to the retirement seminar that's being held in Longview February 7th. Let's just hope they don't all go at once or we might have a little bit of trouble. Our records staff, the makeup of them, I have 3 gals that work over there for me. They do a great job in all the day-to-day calls, all the front counter stuff, non-emergent calls, getting them started while officers are out on cases. Last year alone, they processed 133 concealed pistol applications, 229 transfers from March to December, and they also did 497 records requests. As I reported in my last report to you, one of those current records requests has taken us almost 80 hours, and Ms. Parker has done a large part of that for us, and we've had to enlist her services to make sure that we're complying with that. So a lot of stuff goes through that records department. Our evidence, last year we took in 2,100 pieces of evidence. Now that's everything from someone we arrest who might have a bike with them who has no place to put it. The jail won't take a lot of these things, so backpacks, all that kind of items. 1,300 of those were actual evidence items that we were going to use in a courtroom or in a trial to process. And those are the numbers from 13 to kind of give you an idea of, we've had a little bit of an increase there. Our prescription drug box that we got on a grant for nothing a few years ago has done well for us. 46 pounds last year turned in. Our evidence officer, Captain Kirk, both monitor and take care of that program. We had 54 pounds the year before, and the first year we did it, 41 pounds. So it's getting those drugs off the street and not in other people's hands in some instances, as we know. So when we talk about calls for service, I will tell you that everyone in Cowlitz County is up. There was no department that predominantly was not up in some way. Of course, Longview is the big one here with 48,000 calls for service last year. Cowlitz County comes in right behind there. I'm sure Mr. McDaniels could tell you all about that. But as for us, we went up to 18,517 calls for service last year. And you realize that most of those calls for service are generated by patrol officers, which we're running 17 currently. You can see from the past years how it's kind of stair-stepped up. When we talk about incidents, our officers respond to all different types of incidences. When we talk about mutual aid, we all remember last year was the Carl's towing call where SWAT team was activated. Of course, Captain Kirk is one of the leads on that, as is Charlie Rosenzweig and Robert Huda from Longview. So we spent, our patrol guys spent a great deal of time coordinating that area off and then turning around and then working into the SWAT mission itself. Large amount of other incidences that we handled throughout the year, several train fatalities, a found dead body that that was close to the high school that we had to work through last year. Number of other things that officers, lots of mental assistance calls. If someone needs transported to the hospital, the police department is the one that does that if they're in need of mental health care. As you can see, our priority calls, when you talk about priority 1, 2, and 3 are all listed there. A majority of our calls are that priority 4 calls, which we're happy about. The life-threatening calls went down just a little bit from last year to this year, so that was good to see. But we are still have a majority of our calls are that upper priority that police need to get to right away, and sometimes by us getting there diffuses the situation before it gets to a point of no return. This year, our domestic violence arrests are up just a little bit, as you can see from last year, 217 to 183. Our DUI arrests were the same from 13 to 14, with 39 being the number. When you go back, there's a number of reasons for that: education, everything that's going on, patrols, what's being done with longer times on blow and go under state laws, and all the different changes there that have made it, and then the cost of it, have made it less attractive for people to drive under the influence. Our motor vehicle collisions were up just a little bit, 268 to 249. So then we talk about our NIBRS rate, and this is what we really look at. When you look at a police department, you want to see how busy they are, you look at the NIBRS category. This used to be the old UCR, for those of you that looked at the Uniform Crime Report. It's now the National Incident-Based Reporting System, or NIBRS, and those are our NIBRS calls. When you look at it, we pretty much went down in almost everything. Maybe one item went up just a little bit, but everything went down on that. So that's good, because these are the Class A offenses. These are the bad things, and that's what we don't want to have here. When we talk about the mall, we've already talked, we're getting a lot more stuff out at the mall. We'll probably see these numbers increase, because as people arrive there, I would tell you that vehicle prowls, I'm almost assuredly will go up next year, because now it's a target-rich environment for those people with all the businesses out there. But this is a breakdown of those. Kind of interesting that the exact same amount of calls from last year to this year, I will tell you the talk to the officer calls or the general calls that we haven't broke out here changed from 58 last year to 71 this year. So a little bit of difference. So when we talk about partnerships that work for us, the reserve program does a great job for us. They augment us on specialty cases, on those high volatile cases when we need to call people in, we need to shut things down. They're a real help there. But they also help us on the day-to-day things. Right now I have one officer on duty that's just working and augmenting patrol right now. National Night Out, all of our community policing programs they help with. Sergeant Doug Lane is our liaison. Last year they put in 1,293 man-hours. The reserve unit cost us nothing as a city, and gave us a lot of time and a lot more people and visibility out there. 253 hours was in training. Our partnerships with the school district is huge. Superintendent Glenn, Scott Westrick, we spend a lot of time with them, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But we have a very good working relationship with our school district. Brian Clark's the main part of that. He works as our school resource officer. He's got over 1,600 kids out there at Kelso to deal with on a daily basis. So he does a great job interacting. Scott and he have spent a lot of time on a number of different programs to assist the school and the high school and the district to upgrade their safety and security policies. When we talk about calls for service by school, we had totally 154 last year. Kelso High had 101. That was up. That was up considerably up for them. So this shows most of those are related right to Brian Clark, and shows that he's a busy guy out there, working Monday through Friday during school hours. A registered sex offender program was one thing that was up this year. I believe last year we had 98 within the city of Kelso. We now have 102. By law, we're to check on those. We're also given a WASPIC grant to help augment or to get those checks made. Level 3 every 3 months, level 2 every 6 months, and level 1 once a year. So our detectives are in charge of that. They're also assisted because of other hours that people are out by patrol and reserves in some cases. Our Citizens Police Academy is just getting ready to start. We've been talking about that. It's a 10-week program for anyone who lives and works in the city or in the county, excuse me. And it is done by all three of the main agencies, the Sheriff's Office, LPD, and Kelso. We've had great accolades. The Kelso connection for this program is Officer Sarah Hoffman, who's pictured here. Officer Hoffman also, on her own, started working and put us on the Facebook realm, so to speak. We have two other officers that can assist her in that, Officer Clark and Officer Marthaler. As you know, we worked with Jason, our IT specialist, to make sure we were getting everything backed up and could answer to everything. And this is something that, again, shows transparency through law enforcement and allows us to get the word out on specific crimes, on scams, all different kinds of things, good, bad, and things to watch out for. So far we've done a great job with that. If you haven't seen it, jump on and like us. Shop with a Cop. This year I participated with a couple of the Kelso officers in the Walmart program with the chaplaincy, and Kelso kids were served. A good time was had by all. A great group was out there that day, all of us, all these people here. We came back to the boathouse and wrapped the presents. You'll remember in years back we've done it at Target. Walmart has been footing the bill for this one. So it's kind of easy to go where someone is writing the check. We're still working with Target and hope to have it back this year. Tech support, retired Sergeant Ed Nelson has helped us. He helped put a lot of these numbers together, helped me with this PowerPoint presentation. So does our network assistance, keeps our mobile data transmission, computers out in our cars, and does all of that for us. Our detectives unit is made up of 2 detectives, Dave Volker and Rich Fletcher, both seasoned officers. Dave's got it well over 20 years on the department, as Rich does too. Our drug task force, we've already told you we have a sergeant there, and we have an officer in there working as a detective. Now, the change in January, or December to January of this year, was Longview Police decided to pull their officer off the drug task force for staffing reasons. Last year, the drug task force did 107 felony cases. They took 1,300 grams of heroin off the street and 1,400 grams of meth off the street. So when you consider a match head a good user amount, that's a lot of uses that they've taken off the street. We have worked with the WSP and also have one of their detectives along with a federal partner now to help work with that. Our SWAT team is made up locally of all, this is what the SWAT team consists of. As far as the Kelso connection, we have Captain Dar Kirk, who is the lead commander on that. We have Detective Rich Fletcher, who is an operator and one of the team leaders. And then we have hostage negotiator, Detective Dave Volker. And then Brian Clark is their logistics support officer. He's the guy that runs the little robot, does all the techie stuff, gets them all their equipment out, gets them online. And I can tell you from the other night when we had the incident at the Burger King, or behind Burger King, we needed 2 Brian Clarks because he needed to be in 2 places at once. So great asset they do for us. Rich Fletcher, like I said, he's the team leader. He's also been to explosive breaching school, as has Captain Dar Kirk, which is something that they're finding they need more and more. We have 2 Kelso Department of Correction officers that are housed in our building. This is great for us because we have 2 very well-trained, very well-armed people that are here in our city Monday through Friday, and at times we can reach out and have them assist us. Most of the clients, the bad of the bad, are Department of Corrections clients, so it's right up their alley anyway. We also utilize the K-9 units from the county in Longview when we need to access K-9s. There was a K-9 out here on the incident at Burger King the other night. Deputy Harris had his dog out there. So again, mutual aid back and forth throughout. Every 15 minutes program, you'll be happy that I changed the photo, Mayor, is a great program that we do at Kelso High School. Craig Christensen is my officer that runs it. The chaplaincy program does a great deal for us. Of course, death notifications, having people there at a time of need is very helpful. They've done over 300 hours worth of service in the city of Kelso last year, and the 3 of them do a great job to assist us. National Night Out. We had a great time out there. Most of you were there. It has turned into a very worthwhile community policing program. We had a number of kids out there. Of course, you can see Officer Clark there with his snow cone and piece of pizza, both hands full. But my records gals there in the picture, all 3, Becky and Julie and Patty, all there doing the fingerprinting, and just too many photos and too many people to list. Just a great community event for us. The National Guard had the climbing wall. Other departments brought, the suck truck out, which kids just love, big trucks, bulldozers, and all that kind of stuff. So it's turned out to be a very worthwhile program for us. I also participated this year, every even year, in the Chief for a Day program at the Washington Criminal Justice Training Commission. Most of you remember him being out there and getting a T-shirt and a hat on National Night Out. He had a great time up there. This is his mother and his sister with him, and a good time was had by all. Again, this is through donation from the community, and no public funds were used in this at all. the Highlander Festival, we're always a big part of, and out there and making sure that everyone's safe, has a good time, great time for all. Safe Kids Coalition, car seat clinics, we're still involved with that. Cowlitz County, bike helmets, all those good things. DREs, we unfortunately have been using more and more. The Foster Farms incident here a couple weeks ago, we had a DRE from the county come in, again, a mutual aid type thing because Kelso Police does not have a drug recognition expert. Takes a lot of time and money with the current staffing. We're not there to do that. So we utilize from the Sheriff's Office and from the State Patrol. When we talk about that mutual aid and our partners, I deal with the 5th District Commander from the State Patrol, the new Woodland Chief Phil, Randy from Kalama, Bob from Castle Rock, and of course the Sheriff and Jim Dusha from Longview. Great group of people working together, and we're blessed to have this kind of law enforcement presence that works together for the common goal. We do have at our access command vehicle, and of course the SWAT Bearcat if we need them. They're Region 4 assets that we can bring into Kelso. They're shared between us all. We have a great partnership with our fire partners, Chief Dave LaFave, and all of his officers and firefighters over there. The 9/11 program that they do is just an awesome time period too. We work with grants through state, school, mobile data, traffic safety on a continual basis. We're just ending up with a STOP grant and, of course, on computer and tech issues. Our Lower Columbia Police Science class is only one of 3 in the state. It is getting great accolades. They're one of the only units that go up to the academy on a regular basis and go in their uniform, which is their patch and dark polo shirt with khaki 511s. They, of course, meet at the train station. Thank you very much for giving them that place. It's a well-used facility for them and works also as a good training room. It wouldn't happen if we didn't have the instructor we have. His name is Mike Milosevic. He's a retired Longview police officer with 31 years of experience. This guy has definitely walked the walk and talked the talk. We are now in our first year where we have kids who are graduating from college and have already secured jobs in policing and in corrections because of the police science class, and that's great to hear. Training for this year, of course, we regularly do firearms training. Officer John Croco is our lead firearms instructor. Pictured here is Officer Kirk Wiper, who was also the state firearms trainer. We also do emergency vehicle operations course, which is EVOC, driving cars, and we do a slow skills course. We do this because WCIA, our insured, wants us to, and also gives us a stipend to go and train on this. We spend more money on the slow backing and those problems than we do on any high-speed things. So we train on that, and everyone in the department, from myself down, are trained. We train because we do get things that are out of the ordinary. Who would have ever thought that we would talk about a single-shot shotgun with 52 rounds being shot within the city of Kelso? But some years ago, we did end up with that. The individual that committed that has never stood trial because he's never been mentally sane enough to aid in his competency. So he is in a lockdown facility for mental health purposes. But it's not, when these things, or if these things are going to happen, it's when. And we train for all of those. We train for dealing with people with mental health issues. And we've had a great partnership with the Cowlitz County Guidance Association, teaching crisis intervention training. Kelso and Cowlitz County was one of the first to do that. It's now mandatory in every county in the state. When we look at law officer deaths and fatalities, this is a rough business. We were up 105 in 2013, and last year, 2014, unfortunately, there was 126. One of the programs that's coming across the country, and the great thing about having video in your squad cars is we're attempting to get that number below 100. Okay? So there's a program called Below 100. Two of my officers and I attended the training, as did county people from the rest of the county agencies. And we're going to start jointly putting on those classes. The 5 tenets are right there. You know, wear your seat belt, wear your bulletproof vest, wear your safety vest at crime scenes. What's important now? Think about what you're doing, not what was going on at home before you left, anything like that. And complacency kills. So if we can get officers to remember those things, we can move that toll down below 100. Officer deaths are nothing that we ever want to experience, and hopefully I'll never have to do that as a chief. We do have one officer that died in the line of duty. It was on March 27, 1948. He's listed on the Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C., and his name's one of the many there. As you can see, there's too many on those walls. Francis Conan was his name. He was responding to a call, and scuffle ensued, and he was shot with his own weapon. Policing's changed a little bit since then, but what we do know is that the history from the past we see sometimes come in the future. So we train for it. We have snow. Doesn't look like it in the last couple of weeks with the weather we've had, but we're going to have to deal with that. So we are set up for that and are available for that. Of course, we don't always have slides, but we have to prepare for natural disasters, such as who would have ever thought a tornado would hit Longview or Kelso? And in fact, it did. And again, that mutual aid popped in, and we were in Longview helping them because our city didn't get hurt that bad. Slides, we've had a few around here. Flooding, we're commonly, we've already had a couple flood warnings this year, so we're constantly talking about those, and people are preparing for those because it does hit our city, and we have had that problem. Luckily enough, we have Lifeline. We've had a number of probably would have been fatalities in the past. However, with Lifeline being able to land pretty much anywhere, this picture being in the Kelso Safeway, we can get people the assistance they need. Pedestrian accidents, we're continuing to work on that. Just recently had another one at this intersection up on Allen Street. So we're working with the Traffic Safety Commission, and we're also looking at working with other departments on that. Train wrecks, we've had several here recently. Most of them have been suicide related. It's kind of hard to stop those type of calls, but they do take a toll on people. They're not the type of crime scene you want to deal with. Drownings, luckily we haven't had many lately, but we do know when it hits summertime we're going to have to worry about those. Auto accidents, we get them everywhere. We get them in houses, we get them into businesses, we get them going through drive-throughs in the wrong way, and this one was in 2014 and did several $1,000s worth of damage to the brand new Jack in the Box at the time. So what kind of changes have we seen in 14? Well, we had a brand new McDonald's come in, new Verizon store. We've got the Longview Kelso Chamber that now is open and operating for us. Three Rivers Mall has brought a number of things for us. Sportsman's Warehouse, the cinemas, Planet Fitness. All of these things are going to generate more traffic pattern and more vehicles. Anybody that's circled the mall already knows that. But we still have some of the unfunded mandates that we have to work through as a department. We never have that crystal ball as to when people are going to retire, as to if someone's going to go out on family medical leave. We currently don't have anyone that's actively in the military, but we also have to follow up on grant requirements. As far as state unfunded mandates, we have DUIs, we have driving while license suspended, and we have violation of orders. So we're putting people in jail for 90 to a year, according to the state, and we, as Kelso, are paying for that. About $27,000 for 1 year incarceration. So that's something we can't always control. It comes down to the money when you're at that point. It's unfortunate that's what it is, but you know, it is what that is. Officer Dave Shelton, over 35 years of service to this city and this agency. One of those guys that are the 5 to retire. Again, where's that crystal ball? We've got 5 people right now that could walk out, so that concerns me in that we need to look at that. Captain Darkirk is my only captain. The one position went away. With everything that is increasing and are now looking at hiring, we're getting more and more busy. His SWAT call-outs are coming out, so the one captain is just going gung-ho all the time these days. That's pretty much it real quickly. I didn't want to hold you too long, but if there's any questions that I can answer for you, I'd be more than willing to discuss that.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions, council? All right, we appreciate your hard work. Thanks for being out there and taking care of the crap we don't want to deal with. All right, let's see. No consent agenda tonight, so we'll move on to citizen business. If anybody'd like to address the council, this is your time to do it. Come on up to the podium when we call you and give us your name and address. You've got 3 minutes, and please keep your comments to the council. I'd only have one person who filled out a sheet, but other people are welcome to talk anyway. Mr. Hart, you want to come on up? You using that?
Well, Mr. Mayor, we do have a brief presentation from Councilmember Roberson regarding the Allen Street landscaping.
Okay.
That we can.
Let's go ahead and let these folks talk, and then we'll get to it. Sorry about that.
Curtis Hart, I live at 115 Williams in Kelso. Thank you for letting me speak really quick. And I was just going to ask one more time that you relook at land use objective number 7 before signing off on it tonight. I'm not sure if they made any changes to it from the last public hearing, but it specifically says that prepare and maintain an inventory of privately owned land not suitable for development that may be appropriate for public acquisition for such purposes as parks and recreation, open space preservation, protection of environmentally sensitive areas, shoreline restoration, access to shoreline, and/or parking. I mean, at the very least, if you could just remove parking, because nobody wants their land taken to be made into a parking lot. And nobody wants to be remembered as the guy that voted to have their land taken, made into a parking lot. And it specifically says parking right there.
Right. Gotcha.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and would anybody else care to address the council tonight? All right, we'll close that up and move on. Mr. Roberson, you have a presentation for us. Sorry about that. Oh, you need a little bit more? All right, let's do, well, no, this isn't, I thought this was all consent stuff, sorry. We'll wait for you, how about that? You're too kind.
I had this all ready to go, but then I remembered I forgot a slide, so I had to add one about a half hour ago. So it's, let's try that and see if it'll work. Pretty darn close.
Double click. And punch F5.
F5, there's no F5.
Right after F4.
Okay. What, I think in December, I think it was December, we had a meeting here. I don't remember who called it. Stephanie Owens, AmeriCorps. We brought in Nancy Chenault, and we talked about the Castle Rock, their blooms. I went back and looked at it, and we didn't invite council members, but we did invite members from the South Kelso Neighborhood Association and Kelso Downtown Revitalization Association. And Nancy Chenault came in here and talked to us for an hour about their process and how they've won quite a bit of recognition for the program they have up there and putting color in their streets and everything. And we came back out of there, and everybody said, you know, there's something we could look at, and thought about the bridge our bridge approach up onto the Allen Street Bridge as being something that we could improve on. And a little later that week, I was recycling pop cans, and I stopped in Greg's garden and talked to Greg Moore, and told him what we were doing and see if they were in a state where they could help us, because I'd heard that Nancy Chenault is pretty darn busy with what they're doing up there, and he was pretty excited about it, agreed to it. We went over and walked through, and he had him and his son-in-law come over here, and they drew up some plans, and we had a meeting in here, and it's about that time also we heard from Rotary. Rotary is interested in this as a project. It just kind of coincidentally came together. And anyway, Greg came in here, and we had KDRA people, Rotary, myself, Steve, and Greg came in, and what he had was kind of some big pieces of butcher paper with some pencil drawings on there that we couldn't bring here and show you what they are, so my thoughts were to bring that into a PowerPoint presentation, because I'm a PowerPoint aficionado, just like it. Anyway, so what I want to do is do this to give you some idea of the graphics that was on that butcher paper, but if you want next meeting, I can bring you some butcher paper. It's cool.
I like what you got.
Okay. Let's see, this got no... Okay, the first thing we're doing is, you see the blank space, that's what we got the plantings are now. Over here we have laurel plants and some cedar trees. They kind of hide that ugly building back here. Not quite good enough, but they do hide it. Greg's idea was to go ahead and extend the laurels all the way down here and hide some more of that brick building. I can't remember the name of that. Ethnic Support Council is in there. And Shipka Laurel. Okay, and the next one, you see what he's done coming out here. We're in the shady area. So Greg's recommended we put a lavender princess rhododendron. Now I would call it pink rhododendrons down through there. You get them in here, he's got a lot more call on that. Okay. And following that is a Pyrrhus cavatine. Have no idea what that is.
Probably that white thing in the
That's
picture.
a white thing. It's a bush, it's white, and you know, just putting a PowerPoint doesn't make you a gardener. Put that, and then in finishing that off, we got a Kramer's Rote Heather. Now, I don't know if Kramer's loaned it to us or what, but that finishes it up. And I kind of did these that were kind of showed some color a little bit, a pink and a white and then a red. And Greg told me when he did this that they're staggered on height, so there's a method to it. Then going out into this larger planting area, he's kind of surrounded it with a moon shadow unimus or onimus. It's a kind of a small bush, I think. And in the middle of, and then a little bit just inside of that is a border of red elf escallonia. And then blue star junipers everywhere. I did that animation. It's always fun to watch them race. You know, I know the outcome. I've watched it a lot of times, but it's still fun. Anyway, a lot of blue star juniper for a border along the sidewalks and the walkways. Kind of a low plant, kind of a common plant. Most of what these are plants that we're up in Castle Rock. A lot of what they're doing is the annuals, and they have to practically water and fertilize every day. That's more frequently. He's looking at bushes here that maybe fertilize once a month and water once a week in the dry period. A lot easier to maintain. Okay. Then we have the Francis Mason Abelia. That'd be just inside the junipers. A little bigger plant. And a lot of what he's doing there too is the variegated leaves. That's kind of how you get the color to stay there. I don't know how long the leaves stay. If the leaves stay all winter long, I have no idea. And then inside of that, the magnolia trees. If you look in that area right now, there's a big, large dome plant of some kind. I don't know what it is, but if you go and you look inside there, it looks like it could be an apartment building for people wanting to sleep out. It's large and covered. This here is smaller and it's all open. And then also in there is these King Edward currants. A little taller, red color. Just more of the color that's going in there. And then we have vibrant spring bouquet. You see that's going down the middle, and you can kind of see by that where it's along that building. It's about 3 foot high. So you're building height to the middle. It's just the way Greg designed it. Okay, and I think you got one more. Yeah, that's the one I had to add. Those are flowering pear trees. Versus, you got some maples in there. I don't know what they are right now, but they hold their leaves forever and never fall, and if we get a lot of vegetation out of that. And that is basically what it looked like for color in there. You guys got any questions other than what the plants are or how to plant them?
I just wanted to point out as well, we asked Greg to complete the plan so we could also re-landscape the pork chop, slice of pizza, whatever you want to call it there, between, I believe that's 4th and Red Canoe. And then along the Allen Street Bridge, heading this way, imagine the Allen Street Bridge footing going to Pacific, crossing the wall. Have to imagine it, though. There's a lot of plantings up along the wall and overgrown bushes and basically tree size, and we're going to be removing those and replacing the plantings along there. And the other part of this, which is important, is we're looking to do the new plantings with a lot of volunteer labor. And so we're working together with the South Kelso Neighborhood Association, Kelso Rotary, the KDRA, Kelso Downtown Revitalization Association, and the high schools, and any interested party that wants to be involved. So we're putting together the schedule for that. We have to kind of keep an eye out for weather as well, but we're hoping to do this either the last weekend in February or the first weekend in March. And we're in the process of going through our purchasing procedures to purchase all these plants. So you can see this is a pretty involved project, and at the moment we have a lot of work going into the removal of the existing vegetation. But this should really open up the plaza and provide some additional color that will really stand out as people drive to and fro, east and west on Allen Street over our beautiful bridge.
And you mentioned there were some problems with vermin and other issues out there in that vegetation that was there right now.
So right now, the vegetation that's there, this has grown up pretty significantly, as well as these other areas. Plus, you have this is a walk path that is on an incline, so it can be pretty scary in there, and you definitely see the evidence of people living in there, illicit activity, and rats. There's definitely rats that run around there. So we think this project will really aid the beautification, and we like the opportunity to bring the community out to help us make those improvements once the plants arrive.
Very good. Thank you for that update.
One last point is
Sure.
that the plants that they're going to put in aren't just real little. They're bigger, 3-gallon pots, 5-gallon pots, so they're ready to be established right now. A few years back, my wife ordered some hydrangeas out of a catalog. She got 12 of them all in a sandwich bag. They're all along my house now, but boy, it took a long time.
Yeah.
So.
Very cool. Thanks for your efforts there. All right, council business. We have a few agreements to talk about tonight. First of all, we'll look at a facility use agreement for the South Kelso Neighborhood Association. Council, what would you like to do with that?
Move to approve.
Second.
It's moved and seconded to approve the facility use agreement. That'll let them occupy, as we've discussed at earlier meetings, our old finance building there across from under the bridge from here. A discussion, council. Mr. Myers.
Yeah, I noticed that there will be some costs involved, and I'm curious if they have any kind of revenue source where they can cover those costs.
Not exactly.
Yeah.
Nothing. I have just sent out 67 letters of inquiry for donations throughout the community, throughout the state, throughout the country, trying to get help to get equipment inside, and it's a good deal for the SKNA. I mean, we get it rent-free, but we have the utilities to pay for. So there is some costs that we're just, it's not quite in place yet, but it's here, so we just got to go with what we can do.
I'm hoping you're successful.
Yes. It should be good for the city, because we'll get in there and clean that building up, and it look better.
Yeah.
We believe those additional operating costs likely will not exceed $2,000, so if there's a donor out there that would like to make a $2,000 donation, that would be ideal.
Yeah.
Very good. Any discussion, council, further? Questions, comments? I don't hear anything. The motion is to approve the facility use agreement. Those in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I hear none. The motion passes, and the agreement's approved. Our next agreement is an agreement with the Longview Public Library that we heard about that will let us do some reciprocal borrowing, which is a long way of saying you can check out our books if you got a card for them, and vice versa. What would you like to do with this agreement, council?
Move to approve.
Okay, it's moved and seconded to approve this interlocal services agreement with Longview. Discussion. I don't hear any. Again, the motion is to approve the services agreement with Longview. Those in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? I hear no opposition. The ayes have it, and the agreement is approved. Finally, we have an agreement with Cowlitz County for street maintenance, where we'll reimburse them for work that they do over here with some of their equipment. What would you like to do there, council?
Move to approve the agreement.
I'll second.
All right, it's moved and seconded to approve this agreement. They'll do some herbicide vegetation management. We would call that weeding with chemical, and some chip seal work and things as we need it. This is kind of an open deal, not to exceed $120,000 anyway, that we would just be reimbursing them for as we need them. Mr. Archer.
Thanks. I guess this is for the mayor. I mean, not the mayor, but the city manager. Sure. Do they charge us by the hour for this, or do the job?
I will transfer that over to our Public Works Superintendent.
All right.
It's all based on an hourly rate for equipment and personnel.
Would there be enough in there, do you think, to get some of these drainage ditches we got along the side of the road?
That's part of the ditching contract and the 10-yard truck. That's using their excavator for that work.
I mean, that's okay. That was my question, I guess. Because we don't only need them sprayed, we need that stuff cleaned out so the water drains
Yes.
properly. Okay.
That's part of the plan.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. And any other discussion, council? I don't hear any. We have a motion to approve this agreement with the county for reimbursable work. Those in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed? I hear none. The ayes have it. The motion passes. The agreement's approved. All right, finally, we have the first reading of an ordinance that would adopt the comprehensive plan update that we had a hearing on last time and had a presentation on the time before that. Tracy?
An ordinance of the City of Kelso, Washington, adopting an updated comprehensive plan and updated future land use map.
Council, what would you like to do?
Move to disapprove the ordinance on first reading.
Well, I don't think we can do that, but we can vote no on a motion to approve.
I move to approve it.
I'll
Okay.
second.
It's moved and seconded to approve this ordinance and forward it on to next meeting. Discussion, council. Mr. Franklin.
Yes, thank you. Reading through, can everybody hear me? So reading through this, the changes that the city has made to this plan, it's really quite sad and unreflective of the wording in the plan. And I also feel that the city still hasn't had enough outcry via our newspaper and other means of letting people know what exactly is happening with this plan. And I feel that the city, our residents here in Kelso, need to really, this needs to be put in front of them, and they need to know exactly what's going on. So I feel that we need more discussion on this, especially when the city says that the language that they feel violates private rights doesn't. The state's position on property rights is a lot different than a property owner's. And I hope that people are at home watching this and head down here and voice your opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Other discussion, council? All right. Mr. Archer?
Yeah, thanks. I think the main concern here is from what I'm understanding, is the parking lots. People don't want their house taken for a parking lot, and I can't say I blame them. The rest is pretty much standard that I've read it over and over, and there's a lot of stuff in here that we'll never use, hopefully, but it's there if we need it, and it's there if somebody else. I'm under the conclusion that if somebody wants to come in the city, I do not want to stop their rights from coming into the city. If somebody wants to leave the city, they have a process to do that. Everybody's got their own way they want to live, and I'm not going to try to even say how they have to live or how they have to use their property. As long as it's safe, they abide by the laws, I haven't got no objections. And something about a parking lot, I don't want my property taken for a parking lot. Can we just take part of that out, or would that be?
Yeah, could I ask, what specific policy policy objective that we're looking at, and maybe we can provide some clarification? There might be a misunderstanding as to what it means.
Well, I had it, I'm trying to find it, I can't find it again.
I think it was said land objection number 7.
Land use.
So land use objective
land
number
use
7,
number
we have
7,
on page 15 of the document. It states, prepare and maintain an inventory of privately owned land not suitable for development that may be appropriate for public acquisition for such purposes as parks and recreation, open space preservation, protection of environmentally sensitive areas, shoreline restoration, access to shorelines, and/or parking. Again, there are laws against, there are laws pertaining to takings and specifically how the government can acquire property from private property owners. There has to be just compensation. There's U.S. Supreme Court case law as to how eminent domain could be used in particular circumstances. There are more specific laws in Washington State pertaining to eminent domain. But basically, if the city wants to acquire property, let's say for parking, we would have to pay the property owner just and fair compensation. In some cases, for specific utility location and placement, there are laws in place that allow the city to purchase property or pay a property owner fair market value, even if the property owner doesn't want to sell at that point, but there are specific defined cases where that may occur. So this policy does not, or this objective does not in any way say that the city is going to acquire property from someone without adequate payment.
Right, I understand that, but the whole plan in itself gives you, or gives the government, the chance to grow and exceed what it should be. The people should be owning property here. The people should be building property here, not the government, and they shouldn't be taking it from people, given just monies or compensation for the property. You should be limited on what you can acquire as government, period.
Thank
And
you.
this
Mr. Myers?
plan- This plan doesn't do
You haven't
that.
been recognized yet. I've given you a lot of leeway. Mr. Myers?
Yeah, I want to point out that this is a necessary planning process that's required for many kind of grant applications you go through. You got to have some kind of a plan of where you want the city to evolve to, and this is an evolutionary process, and it is subject to circumstances arise that are outside this plan that may be modified or be accommodated. So we're just trying to accomplish some planning here that is both necessary and good in making a plan for where the city might evolve to in the future. And that's what this is. And it does not target any specific, although they do outline zoning requirements, it does not target any specific properties for any specific use. Those come as situations arise. So this is not mean we're going to jump in and start doing these things, because this is just outlining a plan for the future. And I think we need to keep that in mind.
Thank you, Mr. Robertson.
Yeah, I'd just say, eminent domain's been around a long time for the right for the government, for the need of the public to buy property. I went through this at the airport. When we extended the airport, my first family home was there. It's right now, it's a blank field. It's part of the runway protection zone. It was a fair process. It was for a need, and we moved on. I don't think we're ever going to be to where we can afford, where we're just going to go buy homes and turn them into parking lots. That's kind of silly. But you look at this zone planning, it's our protection of homeowners here within the city right now. Without any kind of a zoning protection, there's nothing to stop my neighbor from setting up an adult bookstore right next door, or guy on the alley coming up with a junkyard, start wrecking cars. It's so that it's some way that our citizens can have some planning and assuredness, and they buy a house, that that's what that neighborhood's going to be, and that's what planning's all about. So I'm in support of the zone planning. That's what we got to do.
Thank you. This process that we're in right now with the comprehensive plan has, I think it was started by Mr. Cairns. Mr. Cairns has not been with the county, or with the city for several years. This process has been going on for a long time. I feel like there's been tremendous number of opportunities for participation. I feel like there has been a huge amount of attempted outreach to the community. I don't know enough about what's gone on to know how successful that was, but I know that it's been something that Mr. Von Rock has dealt with for months and months on end in the Planning Commission. So I know that this has been drafted from the community. This, as far as I know, is the first time, 2 meetings ago, that any of us has really been a part of it. This is grassroots at its core, I believe, coming up. And so I'm comfortable with the process that it's taken to get here. I get a little frustrated when we're hearing, the city versus the people. The city is the people. I mean, we are citizens just like everybody else. And if it's not the people, there's no city. And we're not here to do anything that's going to hurt anybody. We want to do things that are good for the whole. All that said, I have zero problem taking out the word parking or tweaking that, however you got to do it to get that out. We're not here to create parking. I mean, as you look at it, developing a park in there, I mean, maybe there's some parking at a park. I mean, maybe that's what it comes from. I don't know, but I don't have any problem if council wishes to remove that for our further consideration. I'm open to that if there's any consensus on that. All right, let's go back around. Mr. Franklin.
Thank you, Mayor.
sir.
First of all, I would like to clarify that government and people are two different entities. Yes, we are supposed to, in theory, we are for the people and by the people. But as history has shown, governments seem to start overstepping their boundaries. And this is where we need to step up as people in our community and step up and draw the line in the sand and say, no, we're not going to give government the okay to steal property from people. We're not going to give government the okay to stop somebody from speaking their mind, because, I mean, that's what our Constitution is based on, and government is supposed to be held back by that document. It is with our admission that they don't have to. This plan is, you say it's a grassroots plan, but like you said, you haven't even known that anything was going on until 2 meetings ago, when the speaker came up and said how much work that he had put into it and everything else, but couldn't tell me how much money the federal government was willing to give our state government to buy up these properties. So it hasn't been a grassroots. The agenda is totally socialist, and it needs to be trashed, period.
Thank you. Council, further discussion? All right, the motion is to approve this and move it forward to our, on first reading, and move it forward to our next meeting for consideration and possible adoption. If there is, sorry, you want to come talk? Go ahead. You have a perspective that may be relevant.
I'm sure he's going to.
Name and address, please.
Okay, Rick Von Rock, 400 North F. And I hadn't planned on saying anything this evening because it is first reading, but I am chair of the Planning Commission, and we've met for months on this. And we had public open hearings as well, which the public was invited to. And like here, we noticed not too many people show up. So in putting the plan together and addressing all the issues, these issues were already addressed with the public that did come. So they had opportunities were there, we listened to them, and then come up with a final draft. So it's not like no one was aware, things were posted, people can come down if they choose to, if they don't choose to, well and good, that's their rights. So it was very open. We never have a closed meeting at the Planning Commission meeting, it's always public, it's always open, and we always encourage the citizens to come down and voice their opinions. I just wanted to thank you for allowing me to say that.
Thank you, sir. Okay, council, we have a motion to move this forward on first reading to second reading next time. Those in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed?
Aye.
Okay, I have one opposed, 4 aye. The ayes have it. We'll consider this at next meeting.
And Mr. Mayor and
Yes, sir.
Council, we are still receiving comments from individuals and agencies, and there are a couple of more definitional vernacular changes that have been requested to be made. Department of Ecology asked us to change the terms environmentally sensitive areas to critical areas. And we also received a comment today from the Consolidated Diking Improvement District number 3, and we've asked them to provide, some substantive comments if they have some things that they would like to see changed as it relates to recreational access along the Cowlitz River. They're concerned about safety and anything that might undermine the structural integrity of the diking system, and obviously we are concerned with that as well, and we would be very careful with any type of public access that is placed along the Cowlitz River to ensure the safety of the diking infrastructure that we have. So there will be a couple of more changes brought forward. That's why you see tonight's first reading in the red line format. So this is red line from the Planning Commission recommended version, and then we'll have clean copies for you at the next meeting on February 17th for the second reading.
I'd like personally, and you guys correct me if I'm the only one, I'd also like to see something that identifies either a red line copy or something that identifies the changes, any changes from this meeting to next in the packet. Anybody good? Okay, thank you. All right, manager report.
Okay, well, Mayor and Council, as we are talking about the planning process this evening, we have an outstanding opportunity next Tuesday evening at 6 o'clock for a short course on local planning that is sponsored by the Department of Commerce and the Planning Association of Washington and the City of Kelso. So we will, that is open to Planning Commission members and elected officials from across the region, and frankly, anybody interested in planning that would like to learn more about the process, the foundational laws, and some of the Supreme Court decisions that have created this framework of zoning and development regulations. So if you are interested in attending, if you have not yet signed up, you do need to be registered for the class. If you could contact Amy in my office, that would be greatly appreciated, and we look forward to great participation.
Okay. Anything else?
We have the AWC, Association of Washington Cities Legislative Conference on February 18th and 19th. So if any council members that are interested in attending, once again, please contact Amy to get registered and for accommodations. This is a great opportunity to network with other elected officials from across the state and help voice the city's legislative agenda to our legislators, and push forward on, getting major priorities this year, transportation revenue options, funding of infrastructure, protection of the Public Works Assistance Account, and state sharing of liquor and marijuana revenues. So, finally, today, the mayor and myself and Mike Cardis had an opportunity to meet with about 6 or 7 legislators today in Olympia to discuss the funding for the Minor Road Reservoir Replacement Project. So I think our message is being well received, and we're being well represented by our lobbyist team in Olympia, and we will keep you posted on those efforts, as well as the efforts to forward our overall legislative agenda. And department heads, staff, any comments?
All right.
Great.
Thank you. Council reports. Mr. Franklin.
No report.
Thank you. Mr. Archer.
Thanks. Just reminder, if you can get in that Citizens Academy, sign up. It's free, and you'll learn a lot.
Thank you. Mr. Myers.
Yeah, I just had one comment. Someone, a citizen, has approached me and commented about the staining on the wall in the city hall building, and they're wondering if we're going to do something about it. They said it looks bad. If you want, just where the water comes off the roof here, I think it's a black mold is what it is, but if that could be pressure washed or cleaned,
Thank you.
that's all I have.
All right. Appreciate that. Mr. Robertson.
Briefly, just, SK meeting Thursday, 6 p.m. The train station, and we'll be going over a significant bylaw change, Russian sizes down to the association that we are. We'll be looking at a number of pictures we want to put into a graffiti database, trying to figure out how to get that, so make sure we police what we've got. And we're going over the letters of donation we put out and our facility usage agreement. And our planning.
Very good.
So if you want to, go on down.
Yeah, thanks for your work on that. All right, I have nothing to add, so if there's no further business in front of the council, we'll be adjourned. Thank you.